Morning, guys. It's the 20th of February. We are Signal Centre Talking Ball. Joe Neighbour and Steve O'Hare. Good morning, Steve.
Morning, Joe.
No Ian today.
No Ian today.
He was out on the Raz last night, was he?
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
So he's done
That's what
enough
they.
talking ball to last him through to the weekend at least.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I'd imagine it was.
Excellent. Okay, bit of a tough day yesterday in markets, particularly if you were involved in any yen pairs.
Yeah, a bit choppity,
Unless
chop,
you're
chop.
obviously on the right side of them, but I think people would have been trading with the trend mainly. So
Yeah,
would have been a few stop outs, I'd have thought. Certainly
yeah.
got me
So,
on a couple.
yeah,
Never
I mean,
mind.
I don't know. It's sort of like there isn't. It all feels a bit of a, I don't know, lull before the storm. I think, but I don't
Quite
know, I've been
possibly.
feeling that for a while.
Well, let's just have a quick look at how we did in our trade yesterday. We actually had three winners. We had Bitcoin, oil, and US dollar, Canadian dollar, all finishing in the black.
Nice.
I made one tick on Bitcoin at the close at 9 o'clock. I mean, that's unheard of in that thing. I mean,
Oh no,
taking
no.
into account some spreads, I probably would have been down, of course, but we haven't factored any spreads into this. But it was a bit of a wild day on the old Bitcoin front. I mean, I don't trade it very often, but I think pretty much at 9 o'clock it had a 7 or 8% sell off.
Yeah, I was going to say because I'm
having
looking
made
at.
a marginal new high just above 10,300. So it's
Yeah, I'm looking at
tough
Bitcoin this
market.
morning. Actually, I'm looking to sell it just basically based on the sell-off yesterday. There's a little bit of an inkling of a head and shoulders formation, but it is a bit. You have to squint really hard to get it.
Yeah, I can kind of see what you're getting at. So Ian won out on US dollar CAD, only a 5 tick profit, but he had quite a tight stop, so it's a 0.33R win.
Nice one.
But Steve, you took the winning position yesterday with oil making 0.81R. So collectively just over 1 hour on the day between us. But
Yeah, I'm a bit
all
annoyed really because I had quite a big stop in there. I started to sort of thought, oh, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll be a bit more sensible, have a proper stop. And if I'd had a tight stop, it didn't actually turn around from where I bought it. I don't
always
think
the way, isn't it?
I could have had a 5 tick stop and had a 20R there.
Yeah,
Anyway,
it was a pretty strong move throughout
hey
yesterday.
ho.
I think it only really peaked out about 1 o'clock this
Um,
morning.
yeah, well, I mean, I know that as soon as 9 o'clock came, it had a decent rally. Yeah, carried on till one. I think the stocks all carried on till about that time, and then we've had a bit of a pullback overnight.
Okay. So overall, we are still looking in good shape. 52.4% overall. Ian's still ahead
Oh,
by
win rate. My win rate's nudged up.
6R.
I
Yeah,
noticed
it has. Yeah,
31% to 32%. Get in there.
nice. Ian's extended his lead. He's now 6R ahead of me, so I need a couple of big wins to get me back on side. But Steve, it's your call first. You mentioned something about Bitcoin, so I'm
Yeah,
guessing
I'll
that's
just
where
have a
you're
little
going.
look at Bitcoin. I think obviously we're sort of like talking about this being a little bit of a safe haven asset now. But I'm just looking at this. I say you have to squint a bit hard to make it a real head and shoulders. Monthly chart, we've broken out of the downward channel, which we were in for a while. But the reaction this month isn't looking great. It's forming a bit of a doji shooting star type candle, and we've only got like a week left, so a bit wary of it really.
What's that chart there?
This one here.
Yeah,
This is the daily.
it's a nice
So
engulfing
daily, a
there.
nice bearish outside bar, or engulfing maybe the previous week. So this looks very toppy. Obviously, trend lines, you can sort of draw a
The
few
size of
trend
the
lines
candles
in.
are increasing as well, aren't they? Which
Yeah, and
obviously increasing volatility.
even there we've sort of got break of this. It's very sort of like a sharp trend line, but volume picked up over this 4-hour bar, which I was quite impressed with yesterday. And this is in
That's
a head
that
and
nine
shoulders
o'clock
pattern.
bar, which
Yeah,
I
that's
managed
a
to
nice
escape.
one. Yeah, nice one. But in a head and shoulders formation, you get sort of like the volume higher into the left shoulder, then it sort of drops off. It isn't really a classic one, and even here, the sort of like the initial right shoulder, the neckline was broken. So I mean, you could even draw it down to here, and this be it's now a downward sloping head and shoulders reversal,
which are more bearish.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That they're not quite strong, but can end up being quite decent sort of like formations, but they don't work as often. But so we need to sort of like get a break of yesterday's or at the overnight spike low down here at 92.82 to sort of confirm this. But you see this like really quite sizable volume gone through on that bar. So even going back to right back here, that's the last time in early Jan we've seen that sort of volume. So I think there was a bit of a switch yesterday. So I'm going to go for it. Why not?
Yeah.
What's the 95.60? Selling at 95.60. I'm going to keep it quite. I'm going to keep a very tight stop just for the sheer hell of it. And yeah, why not go to this swing low here?
Makes sense.
That's
1,100.
About 4R, just above 4R.
Lovely.
So yeah, I'm going to go to 9,000. Well, here I'm short 9560, 9,100. And can I get that stop any tighter? 9660, 4.6R. How's that? How'd you like those apples?
I like them a lot if it comes in.
Right, hand it back to you.
Okay, lovely. So struggling a bit to find anything that I really like, but I'm going to go with Footsie 100. Just with equities, I mean, a bit of a mixed bag. I think equities in general, I'd prefer to be selling them because I think that's where the value is at present. And Footsie is one of those ones that's lagging behind the rest of the European markets and certainly the US markets. Yeah, we've still got a trend sequence here of lower highs. And we've got this 61.8% level at 74.86, which is from this swing high here. And we've seen the 78.6 work quite nicely. And this 61.8 potentially doing a job as well. Let's just have a look at what that looks like. Yeah, so we've got two 61.8 levels coming in roughly the same. So I think there's a build up of resistance there. And I think in order to break through that, it's going to take quite a lot of effort. So I'm more of the opinion that this is sort of the weaker of the equity markets.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree on that.
And looking at sterling today, that's not looking particularly great. So,
well, that's not. If the dollar looks strong, then that might flip that on its head.
Yeah, quite possibly. So I'm going to sell it here anyway. 74.61. I mean, ideal entry. I was looking up at 74.85, and I've had that level for pretty much the last week as a level to target to try and sell at. But I'm going to go now. I'm going to target and move down to these swing lows around about 72. Let's go 45.
Yeah, I sort of agree with that, Joe. Although on the morning calls, I'm actually buying a little bit of a dip in Footsie, but targeting that 7,500 area.
Yeah,
I think it could sort of like we need that next test of it. But I sort of do agree. It's the stocks have after their sell off or the spike high into midnight last night, and then the sell off look a little bit toppy. I just sort of like
DAX as well. Let's have a look.
So
I mean, that's made. Let's get rid of these.
New all-time high, yeah.
So it made a new high, but you can say that's a swing failure there.
Yeah.
That for me would be a cue to sell. You've had a new look at highs. You've flushed out some stops. You've closed back below the resistance line. You sell it on the close of that bar, and
nice risk reward there, isn't it? So
it's looking pretty good. Yeah, you've got a really built-in stop there with obviously a move to new highs.
Yeah. I think also if you sort of like wanted to sort of be a bit more cautious, you'd sell the break of the double top neckline, which will be formed once we break 13,655. The one you went there.
Yeah.
There. That'll be a double top on the 4-hour chart, and then you'd be looking for maybe 150 to 200 point move lower as a measured move.
Yeah, so that looks really nice. That what the US index is doing, just for quick look.
Yeah, they've sort of like again pulled back a bit from their overnight highs. I think that this next couple of hours is quite key for it. So we could.
So you got a sequence of lower highs there.
Yeah.
On the Dow.
Yeah.
Little push above that resistance level there, and a failure with a kind of engulfing candle. Shoot low, and then another engulfing candle forming here. So potential for a bit of a sell-off in equities. I think risk reward is probably better on the US markets. but obviously higher risk because
Yeah, I
Americans
mean, they
love
just
buying the
keep
dip.
bouncing back. So you got the sort of like the attitude, of them US markets in the when they come in the afternoon, they just sort of like any sort of value they're ploughing into. So it's very difficult to argue with that.
Yeah. Okay. So there's the trade for today. 5.4R if it comes in, targeting 7245. I was short at 7462 with a stop at 7502. So we will see how that goes.
Nice.
So news-wise yesterday, obviously the yen was sort of front and center of what where the big moves were. We had the Fed minutes yesterday, but there's very little impact as a result of that. The US economic data releases, however, were stronger than expected. The Fed meeting stated that risk to economic activity was somewhat more favorable than the previous meeting due to an easing in the trade tensions. I don't think there was any real mention of coronavirus in there, although cases have declined in Hubei, which that did help sentiment a little bit. There is still uncertainty, especially with China changing its methodology for reporting cases.
Yeah, that's like us changing our analysis after we've made a trade call.
We've also had the Chinese central bank cut interest rates, but that was in line with the consensus forecast. They've now got a 1-year prime rate at 4.05, which is lowered from 4.15. Cool. So yeah, I mean, it said everything Japanese. It felt yesterday, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
There was some chat that's saying that was going to be the hotbed for the spreading of the virus potentially in Hong Kong. So it clearly had an impact.
It's sort of like I had a little. I don't know if it was a dream or just a thought last night. What happens if people who've been infected by the virus and have sort of recovered, all of a sudden become infected again?
If they can get reinfected by it.
Yeah, it's when it's sort of like it's like when you get measles, you sort of think, oh, you can only get measles once, or you get chickenpox once, or whatever.
Yeah.
What about if this is a virus which comes back more aggressive second time?
Oh, I don't know. You're having some dark thoughts there, Mr. O'Hare.
It is. I'm sort of like, I'm looking for this reason to sell the stocks.
Are you short of anything by any chance?
No, actually, I'm long of DAX. I have been long of DAX from yesterday and overnight. Feel a little bit nervous about it. I think it
Have I just scared you with my chart?
No. I completely agree. I've sort of brought the stop in a little bit, and because I want to be ready to sell when I need to sell. And when you see the markets coming off, you want to just sort of jump in. You don't want to sort of think, oh, I've got to get out my longs first and hold back a bit. But yeah, I'll just tighten the stop up.
Okay, fair enough. So oil yesterday had a strong move, which obviously you were on with the talking bull trade that we did in the morning. That was due to further action taken against Venezuela by the US.
Right. Okay.
Fresh US action to tighten sanctions against Venezuela through action against Rosneft also had positive influence on the oil price yesterday. So there's a likelihood that US shale production will hit a fresh record high as well at some point this year. So that tempered the price a little bit, but I think the Venezuelan sanctions are really what drove it to those highs.
Yeah.
So we've got inventories today at 4 p.m. So if you've got any oil positions or exposure, keep an eye out for that. Prior to that, at 9:30, we've got UK retail sales. We're expecting that to rise to 0.6% for the month-on-month figure and 1% for the year-on-year. We've got initial jobless claims at 1:30, as well as the Philly Fed Manufacturing Index. So US pairs come lunchtime. And we've also got Eurozone consumer confidence at 3 o'clock. So a little bit for everybody there, I think, today. There's quite a bit going on.
Yeah. Let's see. Well, good luck with everyone to the trading day.
Yes, indeed. So let's wrap it up there, Steve. We're all back tomorrow. Ian's back tomorrow as well. So
is he?
Yeah.
All right.
Catch you all then.
All right.
Have a good one.
Cheers, mate.
Bye.